Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Armchair Conversations with Rob. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about some things that might be a little uncomfortable to touch, but if we approach it with that spirit of play and relaxation, maybe we can have a good conversation tonight. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you can use that sometimes you might consider them negative to push your body, your mind, and your life forward. Things like anger. Um, Selfishness, uh, boldness. Um, I want to touch those things a little bit because if they're used positively, there's a mixture of the ways you put that stuff together that can be helpful for you. Um, because sometimes, let's say you're faced with obstacles in life, or say you try something and it doesn't work, and maybe it really hurts your feelings, and you get angry about it at some point in your life because maybe it was something that you really wanted, or maybe it was something you really believed in, and maybe somebody shot it down. Maybe the way that it came about didn't sit well with you. I think there is a place for getting angry. I definitely do, because sometimes anger can push you forward if you use it constructively and positively. If you put the anger in a place where it's going to have you do some things to accomplish the task, get things done, get yourself in a different position. Um, I'm not a person who's going to sit here and tell you that being angry, it can't be helpful at times. Wanting revenge can be helpful at times. Um, I really think that if you compare some of those things on the spectrum from like hopelessness and helplessness all the way down to anger and revenge, I mean, there's a sense of relief and a sense of control that comes with that you can use. Now, I didn't say get so angry that you lose control. I didn't say hateful, because to me, those are different. I didn't say, to purposely do things to hurt others because you're upset or uncomfortable or angry. But I do think that anger can push you to be toward something you're about. I think you can use anger to make you go a little further, um, work a little harder, uh, revenge as well, because they're kind of sometimes tied together. Because a lot of times, say, when you were a kid and say something, you were beaten at something, you might have gotten angry about it, but you also wanted to get revenge. I don't think that everything that has to do with anger and revenge and things has to be negative, though. I think that living well is the best revenge. I have always thought that ever since I ever heard it. Living well is the best revenge. Um, and sometimes it takes a little bit of anger to do that, because sometimes you have to get angry at yourself and your situation as well as at others, to push yourself. When you know that it's not the best that you're capable of presenting, or it's not the best that you're capable of embracing or enjoying or garnering, gathering for yourself. You know, you have to be able to use your anger in that way and say, I stand for more than this. I'm better than this. I want to be better than this. And right now, I'm upset that I don't have it. Um, I'm not going to hate, and I'm not going to hate myself, but I am upset that I don't have it. And I want that feeling of frustration and uncomfort and pain to give me the fuel I need to push me to another level. Um, 50 Cent had a comment once about needing people to hate because he needs the energy. Um, I think that negative comments can push you to that point where you want revenge by living well. And I'm all about that. I'm also about being able to be bold at times and take action. Listen, I think we all have times when we are afraid of things, or we're worried about things, or when we don't want to look bad in front of our peers or our parents or whoever. But I think sometimes you have to take bold actions. And sometimes you have to take actions even when you know you're not going to make it, like you're not going to, succeed, to give you some fuel to push you again to the next level. And if you use your frustration and anger properly, you can keep coming back. You just keep getting back up and you continue to try. And eventually, longevity it has effect. It breeds success. It develops you. Um, and I think that boldness also encompasses things like living a life without a ton of apology. I'm not going to say you should never apologize for anything. I'm not even going to say there aren't times when you shouldn't be a little selfish. Um, but if you always lead a life of permission, and in other words, you give your power to other people, to somebody else to decide whether you're going to do something or not, then you may not get to live half of the things that you wish, and then you're really going to be angry. Um, I do think that sometimes apology is required, and that bold move is going to be necessary. But there's some things that you will never learn unless you go out and do them. There are some things you will never understand unless you've ever made mistakes, unless you've ever gotten angry, unless you've ever been sad or even blissfully happy. I think all facets have to be embraced for you to be a fully functioning person. You know, I've heard people say you live a life of apology rather than permission. And I do understand what they mean. There's a book that I read a long time ago. It's called The Book of Five Rings by Musashi Miyamoto. Um, I'm probably butchering that all the hell in Japanese, but basically, one of the things that he said in the book that I've always taken with me is he who's faced death at the end of a sword has an elevated understanding. And I always took that to mean several things, but the one I'm thinking about tonight is that there are things that a person who's never done that won't understand. There are things that they will never feel. There are things that they may never even be because of that lack of understanding, if that's something that they need to be successful in their endeavor. Um, and I think that's where bold moves come in, because sometimes you have to go to conferences when you don't know what the hell anybody's talking about. You have to go to places where you can be exposed to new ideas, even if it's uncomfortable for you, or even if it's not a place where you would normally go, or stereotypically your kind doesn't go. Um, you know, you also have to be bold enough and brave enough to spend some time with yourself and just get to know you. And that's where the telling the truth comes in, being able to tell the truth to yourself. You don't necessarily have to tell anybody else, but you better know how you feel and what you think, because you've got to know so you can take yourself to the levels you want to go to. Um, it's kind of a prerequisite, it's a requirement for becoming somebody, is being able to be honest with yourself as best you can. I think we all have a scotoma, a blind spot, where we can't see ourselves. Because, like, for example, I am sitting here looking at this camera talking to you, but I can't see myself, okay? I have some general idea because there's screens around and stuff, but I really can't see myself if I'm focusing on this camera talking to you. And so that's where I'm going to have feedback at times from people who may watch this stuff and give comments and feedback, both positive and negative, about what they see and what they heard and what they felt about my talk. Or, maybe there are going to be some people who say, well, what the hell is he doing? And there may be some people that absolutely applaud me. Yay! Okay. But the truth is, you have to be honest with yourself, but you also have to be willing to accept criticism and take feedback. But you can't even get that out there unless you take the bold move, take some action, and get out there so that people can see it, which requires a level of vulnerability and being open and letting people see you at maybe not your perfect or not your best, which is okay. Because again, you don't have to apologize for that. You're a human being. You're not perfect. You're not going to be perfect. But coming back to my original thing, first, though, sometimes you got to get mad. You know, you don't have to ride. You don't have to write your representative. Okay, you don't have to listen to me because I wouldn't know what to tell you to do anyway. As far as that goes, you're gonna have to figure that out for yourself. But you have to be willing to get dissatisfied with where you are and want something better. And then you got to be willing to take bold moves, which is a combination between being strong and being vulnerable, because you have to be strong enough to put it out there and vulnerable enough to receive the criticism and the input of people. And sometimes you have to tell a little bit about yourself and open yourself up to being wounded. Um, the Bible always says wounds from a friend are better than kisses from an enemy. And I tend to believe that that's true. It's not always the best thing in the world, but I do believe it's true, because they are going to help you. They have your best interest at heart. They actually care about you. And so if they say things to you, it's not to drag you down, it's to build you up, or to help you to eliminate or expose weaknesses so that you can become a better person, become stronger. So the takeaways for tonight are: be okay with being angry, but use it in a way that's going to push you somewhere that you want to go. Be willing to be bold and take actions, which goes right along with being vulnerable to be able to accept the consequences of your actions and the input of those who are going to tell you what they feel and what they see, both those you ask and those you don't ask. Um, and be willing to live a life where you don't always have to apologize for being yourself. Too many people make us all feel like we need to be sorry for being who we are. Oh, I'm sorry, that I got mad, or oh, I'm sorry that I said this, or oh, I'm sorry that I didn't do that. Really? There is nothing wrong with being imperfect. As a matter of fact, it's part of the beauty of what the human being has become, and the spirit of the human being is that imperfection gives the things that you do well much more character and much more power. So, don't apologize all the time for being yourself. Be bold enough to get out there and put yourself out there to be criticized and praised, because you pretty much can't have one without the other. You can't not put yourself out there and then wonder why you never get any praise, or hide away from getting out there so that you don't get any criticism. Really. So be open to that. Also be open to being willing to be angry. Be mad, get upset about the things that you don't like in the world and about yourself. It is okay to march, okay, and rally and ride and write your congressman. It is. It's okay to do that stuff. But it's also okay to be open and loving and caring. I mean, I'm a balanced kind of person. I believe in a balance. Now, I don't believe that balance is 50-50. I believe that sometimes you got to find your own balance. And yours might be 60-40, and mine might be 70-30, and his might be 80-20, and hers might be 90-10. All of those things are necessary because it creates polarity and various undercurrents in the world, so that everything flows and there's some freshness and newness at times, and things evolve and change. So anyway, just wanted to mess around a little bit tonight with that, and touch on the subject. Again, playing, enjoying, putting it out there so that I can get some feedback and start adjusting and evolving myself, so that I can make the talks more interesting and maybe more guided, more structured, so that they have bigger points and better points. In the meantime, though, glad that I'm out here. Glad that I got to talk to you, and thank you for sharing my armchair with me yet again.